the moment you start to sell is the moment you start to lose.
Write a list of what you want to know about this company and write a question that you would ask to find out that answer.
We win or lose deals by inches, not miles.
I think one of the biggest things about first impressions with us is we want to measure your building. I don't know how many times I've been on group walks with other companies, like 10 other companies, and they just look around. And then at the end, they're like, how much square footage is this?
Effective communication can make all the difference in convincing prospects to choose your services over the competition. In this episode of the OctoClean Podcast, we're diving into the art of securing more cleaning contracts by mastering the way that you speak to potential clients. We'll share our strategies, experiences, and tips to help you refine your approach. Well, Greg, this is a really important topic, and
it's very important.
I mean, we talk to people constantly about this. And to me, it's interesting because it's almost like this, like there's this perception that it's like some mystery locked behind like layers and layers.
If I say ABC, they're going to come running to me, and they're going to get, the floodgates are going to open up, and everybody in my neighborhood wants no.
And I can tell you from like my own experience back in the Zig Ziglar days, who's that? Who's Zig Ziglar?
Google
that. And I won't say the last word, but it takes a lot of really, really, really concentrated study and practice to learn how to be great at sales.
And I don't think there's anyone that just totally, I'm great. I'm going to hire this guy off the street and he's just great. Some people have and some people don't. I think it does come in a lot of the topics we're going to talk about today, like first impressions and, asking the right questions, things like that, the things that we're going to, really dive deeper into that make you good.
Well, and I think you just mentioned like that there is no such thing as a natural born salesperson. No, there is not. What we do know is that there are certain types of personalities that sell better than others. Certain people who are more apt to sell or work with people. But as far as being born and being a natural at sales, that doesn't exist. Well, let's jump into...
Unless you're selling pancake breakfast tickets.
Oh, yeah, that too, yeah.
Different story.
That's a different story. We might never tell you that story. But if you wanted to know more about pancake breakfast tickets, you can send us a message. And maybe Greg will jump onto a live one day and talk about that.
Maybe.
But, yeah, let's jump into these topics. We'll start off here with the first question or comment.
First impressions matter.
First impressions matter. So, when we're talking about the sales process... and we spend a lot of time talking to people about this with franchisees and clients.
Yeah, consulting clients.
The reality is that people typically do this part really poorly. They get a phone call from someone who's interested in working with them. They don't know anything about this client. They don't know who they are. They don't know what the company is. They haven't done any research. They don't even know what the pain is, right? So I want to kind of get into this a little bit.
I think you're right with the first impressions, and not just like when I first read that, it's like, well, first impressions, like I'm going to come meet you. Do I wear nice clothes? Am I ironed? Am I all wrinkled?
That's part
of it. Is Matt's hair sticking up? But that's the first impression. But like we discussed, Matt was just saying, is the research behind it. How many people actually look at, let me jump on a website and see anything about your building, or let me jump in the car and drive down there and sit in the parking lot and see how busy it is, or go in if it's a public facility and have a hamburger if it's a restaurant or whatever. So that's what Matt's talking about too, with more than just how to make a first impression, not only how you look, how you dress, how you present yourself.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go back to some of the presentation stuff, right? And let's go to the very beginning. Someone, a potential client, reaches out to you, right? And they're saying, "Hey, I found you online." Well, in order for you to make a good first impression, if they found you online, what did you already have to do? You already had to have a website.
Yeah, had something.
You already had to have a local search set up. So you have to have something there already. Let's go even before that. What do you have to have in order to have a website?
You got to have branding. You got to have a
right?
Everything.
You got to have a brand. You have to have a style guide. You have to have a logo. You have to have a name.
And then you have to think about how that logo comes across to other people, or how that name of your company comes across to other people, depending on what area of the country you live in, or
Right.
What type of
We just had this conversation
We did.
with someone. But what I find too often, especially in this industry, is that people get started and their name is not very good,
or
they're
cutesy,
cutesy, or their logo is terrible.
like super duper clean.
Something really basic and dumb, right? Sorry,
not dumb. Well, not very well thought out.
not very well thought out. Sorry. God, thanks, Craig.
No problem. I got you, bro.
Appreciate it. I got to be kept in check. But that you got to start there, right? What's the name? What's a brandable name? What colors are you going to have? What's your style guide look like? If you don't know what a style guide is, you can just search it on Google and it will tell you. And then what's your website? Because if you don't have that and you haven't set up local search, then how are people finding you? And we can get into prospecting and so on. And because really, if the business you want isn't going to,
come to you.
It's not coming to you. But then you get all that done. Somebody calls you. You got to ask the right questions. So they just call and they say, "Hey, Greg, I hear that OctoClean is a really good company. I want you to come out."
Cool. What's your address?
Yeah, and that's
That's usually what it is.
and that's all you say.
And you're excited. You're like,
So what are we going to get? What we're going to get is
a candy store.
we're going to get a candy store.
Yep.
So true story.
True story with a candy store, by the way.
True story. Had most of you, I'm sure, like there has to be an easy way to get leads, right? So this really happened. We hired somebody who all they were doing was making phone calls over and over and over and over and over again,
Like hundreds a day.
hundreds a day. And when they finally got a lead, they got all excited, and we did the super cheesy stuff. They got to ring a bell, the whole thing, right? Super cheesy. And this one lead comes in that's not qualified.
They had a pulse.
They had a pulse.
That was
They're
the
like,
only
yes,
qualification.
yes, we need somebody to clean my building. Send our salesperson out to this location. I get the phone call. And he's like, "You won't believe this." I'm like, "Hold on a second. Greg's in my office. Let me put him on speaker." So I put him on speaker, drop my phone on the table, and I'm like, "Tell me what this lead is." He's like, "I'm sitting in front of a candy shop right now with a bunch of clowns all over the windows." And I like, "You got to take a picture of this place." And he takes a picture, and it's like pink and blue and all these different colors and stuff. And he's like, I refuse to go into this clown building. And he just turned around and left. You've got to qualify the lead. What we have to do is, this is all part of that first impression. I mean, if you're just like immediately jumping on whoever's contacted you and you don't ask questions like, well, tell me more about your location, how many days a week, what are you struggling with? What are you hoping that we can help you with? Like there's a series of questions that you would ask. That's first impression because it's a first impression on the telephone, first impression in brand, first impression on online, and first impression on the phone, first interaction. Then we get to the location. Okay, you get to the location, there are absolutes that in my mind that we have to have. You're not wearing flip-flops, you're not wearing Levi's,
Hats.
You're not wearing hats.
Shorts, T-shirts. Even if you have a T-shirt with your brand on it,
No.
please don't.
These are the things that we require within our own brand. You're going to come in with some sort of dark colored slack or a khaki slack, or if you're female, you're going to wear, a skirt, dress, something like that, right? And then you have for males or females, you have polo, just like what Greg's wearing right now. Simple, or you're wearing a nice shirt like this, button-down shirt, long sleeve, and well kept. You're not, your hair's not all messy.
That's the same thing. Like we're like, well, how about the beard? Like, in growing up, we were told you shouldn't have facial hair, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
I mean, keep it under control.
Yeah, keep it under
You don't want to look like the homeless guy underneath the bridge beard.
Yeah,
Trim it down, make it look good, comb your hair, brush your teeth.
Yeah.
The basics.
yeah, but the basics. Because when you walk into a building, the first impression is going to be like, are you overdressed? Are you underdressed? All of the things, right? And we win or lose deals by inches, not miles. And, you're going to hear that from me a million times. So if the way I look at it is if you walk by a mirror and you look and you see something that's like too distracting, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Just get rid of it.
That's anything like the earrings or
earrings, or you have like, you know,
a tattoo that people want to look at all the time, and
Right.
you're like, no, just cover it up.
So, you know, first impressions do absolutely matter, and punctuality, which is a big part of it, right? 15 minutes is on time, early is on time.
Yep.
You know, so you don't want to sit in the car in the parking lot waiting for that exact minute right before. Walk in and be there 10, 15 minutes early. Never apologize for being early. You know, somebody's like, oh, well, my appointment with you is at like 1:30, and it's only 1 o'clock. You're here early. Okay, no problem. I'll
No
wait.
problem. I'll just sit down here. That's some things I can do.
I'll wait. The other thing, too, is that, you know, and I wouldn't even say as much about first impressions as it is just being respectful. If you are walking into a building and you don't know who these people are, you don't know the company, what their goals,
What they do.
And then one layer below that would be, which I think is way more important, is who are you meeting with?
Yeah.
You know, have you done your LinkedIn search? Have you figured out, like, where did they go to school? What other jobs have they had? You know, what are they interested in? You know, hobbies and interests and so on. What are you doing? You know, I mean, you shouldn't be walking into your first meeting trying to figure out who this person is. Like, I would know more about you, your background in the military and things like that. And I'm not going to come out like, tell me about the Navy.
Yeah, because then you look
know?
like you're a stalker. But at least you know, like, hey, these are questions that may come up.
Correct.
You know, or this is something we may talk about.
Yeah.
So if this guy's into, I don't know, classic cars, and you know nothing about them, you may want to Google that real fast.
Yeah.
You know, so.
You know, so first impressions
Just be
matter,
smart.
and just be smart about it. You know, I know a lot of people will ask questions like, well, I've been doing this for so long, and anyway, we're going to get into that later, and I'm not having the successes that I'd like to have in sales. You know, it's not just one thing. You know, I mean, it's like you could be the best salesperson in the world and show up in a, you know, in a flannel with, like, you know, hair down to your back,
And some Birkenstocks and chilling.
but you're the best salesperson ever. But they're going to judge you the moment you walk in. So you have to really consider all of the things. So, next thing is ask the right questions, right? So we've already kind of gotten to that.
And sometimes the right question is a question.
Well, absolutely. So, you know, there's too often what I find, and you do too. I mean, how many times have you met a salesperson and you say, tell me what you do?
Yeah, and they just go, like,
And they're just throwing up all
it
of
happened to me yesterday
their data.
in the lobby. I'm like walking by those guys, and like, you've got to be kidding me. I got things to do here.
So this was a janitorial.
Jansan.
Yeah, Jansan company.
Janitorial supply.
So tell us what happened.
So I'm walking through, and this person came off the street, him and another guy, and they were talking to one of our customer service girls, and I was going to walk by to go to the restroom because Matt and I had a meeting, and the guy stops me. Oh, you look familiar. Let me talk to you. And he just starts down talking our competition, right? His competition, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, we've been with Waxy for 30-some years. You know, we're very loyal to them. Well, you got to know that this is what's going on, and this is what's going on. I didn't ask any of that.
Yeah.
I didn't need to know any of that. I already probably knew as much or more than he did. Instead of saying something like, you know, I'm with this company. Have you ever heard of us?
Yeah.
At least then it would have been a less confrontational. Because I always look at it this way: if he's going to talk smack about his competition, he's going to go to the next VSC and talk smack about us.
Absolutely.
I walked into OctoClean, man, they wouldn't even talk to us. It's like, you know what? That automatically turns me off with those type of, you know, questions. Instead of asking questions, and really what Matt and I always talk about is like, write a list of what you want to know about this company and write a question that you would ask to find out that answer. So if I want to know, like, hey, you know, let's say a good one we always, you know, what's the budget for something like this? It's a pretty big place.
Yeah.
Now, coming across like that means it's a lot less confrontational, but like that, hey, Matt, how much you paying right now?
Yeah.
Can I see what your invoice is right now? Because then Matt's like, I don't know, dude, that's a little much. That's like saying, can I come to your house and sit on your couch and watch TV? I don't know you.
Well, and some of this is, you know, is approach as much as it is, like, to your point, I would say here's another way of looking at it when it comes to ask the right questions. Every single thing that you could think of that's going to be a differentiation between you and your competition, which is all ego mostly. I mean, yes, I'm sure you have some pieces in your organizations that your service offerings are better than your competition. And as you're listening to me say that, you're like, yes, it's this. Take a pen and paper and write all those things down, whatever those things may be. I mean, if it's we respond faster, or our pricing is better, or whatever it is. Now you say, okay, how do I get this information across to a client or a prospect without saying, well, let me tell you all the things that we do and why we're different than everyone else. Because the moment that you open your mouth and say those things, just like Greg just like Greg just said with these gentlemen who are in our I don't know these guys, but if they were gentlemen, they would have asked questions.
Yeah.
But just like that situation, Greg just shut down. He was like, I'm done. I don't even want to hear it. So the moment you start to sell is the moment you start to lose. Alternatively, if you're like, I want to make sure that they know that we are great at response.
So you can ask a question like, if Matt's my customer or potential customer, Matt, you've never had an issue with like how fast your current company responds to you?
Absolutely. I call them, I email them, and it takes hours.
You want to know how we handle stuff like that?
Well, and I would even go maybe a couple more questions, like besides the right away going into that, would be something like,
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, tell me more about it. And how long has it been a problem? What have you tried to do to fix it? And it's like really diving into it to get them to a point where like they're either upset, well, mostly upset, because that's what we need to do is we need to get down to the pain and get to a point where they're like so upset about the situation, about poor communication, that frankly, because I'm asking the questions, they don't even ask us how we do it.
Yeah.
And for me, and the way that I train salespeople, I don't even share what it is unless they say, well, tell me how you do it.
Like exactly.
Yeah. I mean, if they say, well, how do you guys do it differently? Then I'll say, well, that's a good question. A lot of people ask me, I could tell you all the ways that we do it, but I wanted to ask you some more questions about these other issues you had. I promise you that we'll come back to that, right? Because I'm trying to get that all the way down.
Because he's already at the point he's open.
Yeah, because now I have an opportunity to get into more pain and more opportunities to help them. Which is really why you're asking questions. Any salesperson who is telling you or telling that you're telling the client or the prospect all the things you do well, what you're really telling them is, I don't really care about you. My stuff is good, and you're
and you have to have it.
Yeah, and shame on you for not taking it. And how dare we treat people that way? That's really why we ask good questions. Like you have to,
because that's a customer you're going to get you don't want.
No.
Then they're going to say, you know what? You said you guys were better at this. You're not better than this. It's just like you don't want to go down that route. It's starting a relationship off in the wrong way.
So asking the right questions is really, really important, and really diving into the pain, because
you should probably explain to them what pain means. Because people are like, well, pain to me means I walk out and get hit by a truck and that really hurts.
Well, okay.
Which is not wrong. I mean, really, because if you get hit by a truck, you break your leg, there's nothing wrong with my shoulder, but my leg really hurts.
Yeah, so that's great. That's a great example. So if I'm selling Rolex watches, Ferraris, multi-million-dollar homes, all of these things, what am I selling?
Prestige.
Okay, well, I'm selling candy. Is the way I look at it. I'm selling something that's fun and sweet and exciting.
But to the buyer, why are they buying a Ferrari or a Lamborghini? Because their buddy's got one. If they don't have one, they're going to look like they're poor, and they don't want that.
Right. So
their pain is their pride.
So what we're really selling in that instance is pride, ego, and all the other things that go with it. I'm going to tell you without a doubt, I suck at selling that stuff. Okay, I could never do it because I think it's really cheap, and I think it doesn't really speak to the way that I like to sell and diagnose things. So then I'm going to go back, since I use the word diagnose. Alternatively, you sell something that you're trying to cure a painful situation, right? So what we do is we sell Advil, we sell pain relief, right? So in order for us to really determine what pain is, we've got to ask a bunch of questions. You're not going to
go like a doctor does.
Yeah, you're not going to go to the doctor and say, I have a headache. They're going to say, well, tell me where it hurts and how long has it been like that, and what have you tried to do to make it go away? Like they're going to ask all these things because they need to prescribe you with a solution. The mistake that too many people make in this industry, when we're in pain relief, is they try to sell candy. And it's like, why are we trying to sell? OctoClean is great. Let me tell you all the things that we do and all that. And they're like, but you're not even hearing me. Like, you're not even hearing the pain that I actually have. You're not asking good questions to determine what I'm actually struggling with. And you sound just like the last guy who came in here and said, these are all the things that, we do better than our competition. Or they talk down about their competition, whatever it may be. And that's their pain approach is, well, you made a mistake. So now I'm just making them feel stupid.
Yeah, making them feeling worse.
Because so pain relief is what we sell. And the way that we determine what the pain is by asking good questions.
So you need to practice your good questions. You can't just come up with those on the fly.
Yeah. And with that, a great technique, because this is not normal. It's not normal. So the pattern interrupts. Like the moment that your brain triggers, you hear somebody say, I really don't like the way they communicate, my current company. Most of us are thinking, oh, let me tell them about all the ways that we do.
Yeah.
Right? That's the trigger, is that let me tell them all the cool stuff that we do. You have to interrupt that trigger that's going to go and sell. Instead, it's going to be like, I hear you. So what you said was, so I would use the repeat technique, which I think that's the one I use. There are other techniques out there, but that one's good, where it's like, okay, you said this, and this. Tell me more about that, and then I can get more into it so that I don't automatically trigger to sell, right? So for all of you who are out there saying, like, I'm doing all the right things, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, my company is good, I do great cleaning and all this other stuff, but I'm not getting anywhere, my guess is that your first impression, your professionalism, your website, all that stuff's on point. And probably your questions don't exist. They just don't exist. So moving into what are common objections and how can you handle them?
We talked a lot about how to handle objections.
Well, what's a common objection? I mean, they're pretty standard.
I can't afford it.
You're too expensive.
They're too expensive. I'm happy with who I have. I don't know how many times I've been on quotes in there. I'm happy with who I have. I'm like, that's interesting. Why am I standing here then? In my head, I'm thinking that. If
I say it out loud.
What's going on?
I say it out loud. If they invite me in, dude, and I'm like, hey,
I've had those where I walk through and the building's completely clean.
Yeah.
Like it's super clean.
Yeah.
And we get to the conference room, or they try to hush you out the door. Like, I got a couple questions. You know, a place we can sit down?
Yep.
And then they kind of are guarded because they're like sold. And then I'll ask, the place looks really good. I don't even know why we're here.
Right.
Why do you think we're here? Well, you know why we're here, because when we came in, they bring their kids in the building, and I can't have that.
Right. Or they left the door unlocked.
Yeah.
Or somebody, they stole something.
Or we found out that they hired illegals, and there's a problem with that. And,
yeah.
But nobody else ever said anything to them. They just usher them out the door, and the other questions that could come with that. Well, tell me why that becomes a problem. Well, if they find out that I hired them and they're just not doing a good job bringing their kids in here, I might lose my job. Okay, well, so you want to make a change?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay, well, that's fine. And there's many times we leave those instances, and then they call us back in. We're like, hey, can you come back? We really need to go that route.
Well, to your point, where an objection would be like, well, we're really happy with who we have. We're just looking for a better price. First of all, you should be qualifying that out or disqualifying them before you even show up. But because you have to extract pain in that first, conversation with them before you schedule a meeting. Like, why am I coming out? What do you hope I can help you with?
And that, again, is having the questions written down, because so many times when you're on the phone, they're just so excited to set the appointment that you just set the appointment, and you're like, all right, it's Thursday at 2. I can't wait for Thursday at 2 to come up. Then you show up, and you're like, huh?
And then you show up, and it's a candy shop.
Yeah. Or you show up, and the place is huge, and you only have 3 workers, and you're like,
yeah,
this is a waste of my time.
Actually, that's probably worse than the candy shop.
Yeah, I'd rather show up to, you show up to a 5-story building and they're like, well, I need all this done. I need the exterior windows and all the, and you're like, oh, hold on. I didn't ask any of those questions about the scope of work. What do you need done? What do you got to have now? Why you're interested? How did you find out about us? There should be a whole bunch of questions that you qualify first.
Right.
And then they get you to spending 2 to 3 hours before you show up at an appointment, like hitting the internet, searching your LinkedIn, seeing who the pretty people is, go on Facebook, search the guy out. all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it certainly is worse squandering away a good opportunity than it is going to the candy store. So, I mean, you got
unless you really like candy.
Well, and I'm going to say this: there's one little nugget that you can take away from the objections. So, one of my favorite techniques is never to answer an unasked question.
Amen to that.
Like, I love that rule, and it's not one that I can take any credit for. It's just one that I use a lot. But here's what that would look like, right? Somebody says, well, you say it, you're too expensive.
You're too expensive. That's not a question.
Well, and you can see what I'm doing right now. I'm not answering anything, right? So I'm just going to stare at him. Just going to stare at him. And then eventually Greg's going to say something. And he's going to be like, well, what can you do about that? Well, that's a great question. I mean,
are you guys too expensive?
I'm a little confused because you said that these were all the things you were struggling with, and that if we could solve your problem and demonstrate how much it was going to cost to do the work, that we would be able to have a conversation about it. So is it over? Like, are we done? And they're like, no. I need to, and you wouldn't believe the kind
and
of...
there's so much psychology wrapped around that, too.
You wouldn't believe the kind of answers you get out of that. It'd be like, well, but I have to go to my boss and say that I at least tried to get a lower price. Like all these things that come up, and I'm like, okay, so ultimately the price is fine. The number is good. It's just that what do we normally do? Your price is too high. Well, wait, let's assume that I could get it down to like 10%.
Yeah, you got the car dealership thing with
like, so let me go back to my manager and see what I can do.
If you could do it for this, would you be doing it for this today? Would you take it today?
These are the things that we've been taught by bad salespeople how to behave, right? And that's something that we need to get away from, where if you're a sales manager or you have somebody out selling for you, whatever you want to call yourself, you're a business owner and you're managing a salesperson, you've got to give them some space to be able to negotiate, right? And because if somebody goes to a salesperson and says you're too expensive, and you give them the dead stare, and they just
they're just like, duh, and they walk out,
and they're like, okay, well, you're not answering. Well, you didn't ask me anything. And like,
they take it way too literal.
And they're like, you're like, well, no, I'm just saying, like, but that salesperson who's been given permission to like not say anything back and not immediately like, well, if we could do it for 10% less, would we do it? That person still needs to be able to negotiate somewhere. So there needs to be a pocket that sales manager or business owner says,
well, they need to know beforehand.
This is your high. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. This is your high number. This is your low number. This is your sweet spot. We need to be somewhere in here. And they need to be able to say, well, I'm paying $2,800 a month right now, and you guys are at $32,000. Can you do that? And you're going to say, no, you're at $32,000. I'm at $32,000. You're at $28,000. Like, I mean, I'm going to be. I mean, I'm going to have to be at $3,000. I mean, if we're at $3,000, are we done? Yeah. There has to be something there. I mean, other objections. I mean, I've heard things like, you're a franchising company, I don't want to work with you. There's things that we specifically work on in that area. Other objections. I mean, man, it's usually price.
It's usually price.
And we just have to stand strong, and we have to.
And by having your data too, though, like actually bidding it correctly, going
and demonstrating it,
and like we're talking about here, like first impressions matter. I think one of the biggest things about first impressions with us is we want to measure your building. I don't know how many times I've been on group walks with other companies, like 10 other companies, and they just look around, and then at the end they're like, how much square footage is this?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like 10,000. Okay, great, thank you. And we're like, can we get 30 minutes and I need to walk with somebody and we just need to do the measurements just to make sure everything's good. And then they're like, whoa. Okay, I got it.
So no judgment to anyone who's watching this or listening to it right now, but I encourage anyone to leave a comment about how many times, or have you ever done that before, right? Versus measuring the building completely. So if you have done that, make a comment about it. Or if you've experienced that and you've been the measurer, what has been the outcome? Like, just getting an idea of what that all looks like, because it does happen a lot. And I think the main reason why people kind of push back on the measuring thing is like, the prospect doesn't want me to be at their building for an hour. And I'm like, well, did you ask them?
Yeah, did you ask them? Because maybe they're like, no one's ever done that before.
Bingo.
Because I know, like, I had my yard done. And the first guy came in, he's like, well, let me look at it. And he walks back out, walks in the backyard. It's not that big. And he's like, walks back out. throws me a price. And I'm like, okay. The second guy comes out, measures everything, measures how much grass, how much sprinkler heads he's going to need, all this stuff. Doesn't necessarily tell me what he's going to need. And he's like, it's going to be this. His was higher.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't trust that guy. I don't know what it's going to look like.
No.
He didn't even take time to even care about what the surroundings were. And that's the same aspect we do with janitorial is so many people just don't care. And for us, we know it matters whether a room has carpet or whether it has flooring. If I have hard floor, that's 2 steps. It's vacuuming and mopping it or sweeping it and mopping it, where carpet's just vacuuming it.
Yeah.
So be a professional. They don't expect us to be a professional. They do not expect us to be a professional.
They don't. And look, I mean, if there's one thing you can do to differentiate yourself in this space with potential clients is to go, watch the video that Greg has on YouTube about how to measure, and get all the tools and practice measuring at one of your existing buildings or at a friend's building or something, because you need to be able to do it efficiently. Right. So, you shouldn't be rolling in there and taking hours and hours and hours.
You shouldn't have a tape measure.
No. And in past pods that we've done, we talked about, it's probably like pod 3 or 2 or something. We measured, 7 buildings, like all together was like 1 million square feet or something like that.
In a day.
We did that in 2 days.
Was it 2 days?
It was 2, and only because of the distance between sites.
Yeah, there was somewhere pretty far.
But we did. So so we've learned how to be extremely efficient. Now, it took a week to put all the measurements together, but we at least got all the measurements done. Anyway,
that's the hard part.
So what makes an effective closer or / overall salesperson? Wow, I mean, these are like loaded questions, bro. Because how many hours and days do we have? At least you can leave with some nuggets, right? I mean, that's what we said. What factors lead to becoming an effective closer that secures good contracts? It's not just one thing.
No, it's not.
And it's not just one thing.
Because you can close everything if it's under bid.
Well, and in most people in this industry or any service-based industry where you don't have a selling system, that's really the differentiation is lower price. You need to have a good brand. You need to show up with good questions and professionalism. You need to do a full inventory of what's going on in this facility. You need to leave there, armed with pain, with all the stuff that they told you. Be able to create a solution and a proposal with a formula of that you have for pricing that you can not only so you have that. Now you go in and you're able to talk to them about the solutions to the problem in such a way that they feel like it's going to 100% solve their pain, and you have a way to demonstrate what your pricing is and how you came to it in some sort of intelligent and documented fashion
that they can understand.
So they can understand, and then the rest of it is navigating the buyer through the process of making a decision, because I think too many people in sales think that unless you get a yes, you lost, which is absolutely untrue, right? The worst thing that can happen is that somebody says, I'll call you back.
And you don't have any next step.
And you have no next step, and you never hear from them. And now you've got this deal sitting in a pipeline for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and you're trying to tell your business, your business owner or sales manager, it's going to happen. And guess what? It never is, because you didn't do a good job navigating them to a decision. And the decision that is a win is a yes, no, or a clear next step, or a referral, right? Because those are the 4 things you want to get out of it. And so if you can't get one of those 4 things, then, well, you suck at sales. I mean, that's really the bottom line. So, and stop getting caught up in and spilling your candy and telling them all the stuff you do well.
Yeah, there's one more. I can tell them one more thing, and they'll say, yeah, they really like. They're going to bite at this.
Stop
they're going to bite at that.
And
only sell to what they want you to sell to.
Yes, and guard your information like it's some sort of like proprietary, technology that is like the next.
Like the recipe for like Chick-fil-A chicken.
Or like it's it's AI before AI was around. Like you have to protect it until you feel that if you solve their problem, they'll say yes, right? Because that's what we do sell, talk, give them all the information, and ultimately what do? They work with people that are like them, not from people they like, and they buy from people that they want to work with, right? So it's going to be, I gave you a great solution to a problem, but they like Moses.
Yeah.
And so Moses came in at a different price.
Hey, can you do this?
And like, hey, can you
this is the solution.
Just do what they did?
Yeah.
Right?
That's all you got to do. Follow that scope of work.
I'm not giving a prospective client all of our solutions unless I know that they're going to come up with a clear next step, right? A yes, no, clear next step, or
how the decision is made. There's so many things when he says clear next step.
So,
and then like we were in a sales thing, and someone told me that, and it's great to have all that stuff, but a lot of times these salesmen go in they're trying to close this deal, but they don't want to. I don't want to say offend them, but they don't want to get that clear next step. They don't want to ask the question like, "Are you the last sole decision maker?"
Yeah, or how is this?
Or how is it made? Or what is it? Or what do you think about this? So someone once told me like when you're in the sales at the closing aspect, think like you have the winning lottery ticket in your car.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter whether this person says yes or no. You're going to give them your solutions to whatever problem that they've deemed that they have. Now remember, it's not whatever problem that you've deemed they have. Because there's so much of that.
It's what they told you.
It's what they said my problem is.
Yeah.
Let's say their problem has nothing to do with cleaning. It has everything to do with how things are billed, and they don't know. They're sending me the bills not on time, and on and on and on. And who knows what the problem is?
Then what am I not giving them?
You're not giving them this is the disinfectant we use in your bathroom.
Nobody cares.
They don't care. He's like, I don't care. Can you just make sure my billing is right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Before we do this, I'm going to get you on the phone with my controller, make sure everything is right, and then he's like, okay, finally, I have somebody that I know that is going to do it right the way I want, and if it's not, I can just make a phone call and it'll be right. And then he feels comfortable making, or she feels comfortable making a decision. And it's not always cleanliness.
No,
I would say 75% of the time it's
yeah, but that 25% tends to be the biggest clients.
Absolutely.
They're
huge clients.
They're the ones who have a lot of systemic, issues within the organizations that the vendor that they're working with has systemic issues, and those are usually procedural, back office, things like that. So I mean, it's again, and I can already hear folks, it's that little voice in the back of their head right now. They're like, how they're not going to tell me why I'm, what their pain is.
Oh, they so will.
And I'm like,
it's like you going to the doctor. They call the doctor to their house.
Yeah,
AKA their building. They want.
They're invited. They
like, come on
in.
Come. Let's talk. But then you go to that doctor that you know what your problem is. You're fat. I was like, what? No, my foot hurts. Nope, you're fat.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, all right. And then you leave, and you're like, I hate that guy.
Yeah. So you get a second opinion.
You're like, I may be fat, but damn, I'm gonna go get another opinion. Oh, you know what's wrong? You broke your foot. That's probably a better idea.
Yeah.
Did I break my foot because I'm fat? Maybe.
Well, that's a symptom.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just a symptom. It's not the real problem.
Well, it's a cause, right? It's a cause.
So then that doctor would say, Greg, if you lose weight,
it's like, we're going to fix your foot and you need to lose weight.
Yeah.
Okay. I got
you know what I'm saying? And so I'd be like, yeah, I'm
really, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that. I mean, that's a good way of putting it. But all right. Well, like I said, there's a lot of unpacking around, this topic, and more than we could possibly put into a single podcast. So,
well, listen to it. Like when Matt's talking about first impression, it's not how you dress. My first impressions are great. We've had so many guys that are like, that guy dresses really good. And
yeah,
we send him to a building,
tie, and all.
And he's terrible.
Yeah, the guy's terrible.
But he's pretty.
But he's pretty. You're talking about pharmaceutical reps? Anyway, never mind.
Whoa.
I'm just, hey, hopefully
you're
there's
going to put something in my water, and I'm not going to make it past tomorrow.
Well, saying that's kind of like a stereotypical thing. But all right, so we're moving into this or that, Greg. Here we go. And I have some questions on here, which I hadn't read. But
I've got some brand new ones,
Greg's
man. I've got some stuff.
His side sheet.
I'm going to start one that's going to be, let's see. All right, Matt. Be a superhero with useless power. So there's nothing. You're a superhero, right? But your powers are useless, like turning water into water, right? Or a supervillain with a really useful power.
I think I'll be a supervillain.
What would your power be, though?
Let's just think about this for a minute. Okay, supervillains. Think of the coolest supervillains of all time.
Deadpool, technically.
Deadpool, technically. Yeah, he's an anti-hero or
I guess anti-hero, not supervillain.
Darth Vader.
He's pretty legit.
He's pretty legit. I'm just saying, like, I mean, he's got some pretty cool powers.
Comfortable.
Granted, he comes back and
he has a major problem with the Death Star getting blown up, though.
he does. But the Emperor is really the bad guy, and I wouldn't want to be him because
He's kind of ugly.
Darth
Vader's kind of ugly too, but he got a little mad.
But he had a cool outfit.
So Matt's going with supervillain.
I'm going with supervillain. What are you going with?
I'll do superhero, but what would be my useless power?
Man, what's the point? Are you even a superhero if you have a useless power? Like, you're not a superhero. You're just some random dude who's turning water into water.
But
Like,
really
I can do that right now by just taking water out of your cup and putting it in mine and then going back and forth. I mean, that's not a superpower.
I don't want to do bad things to people, though.
I'm not saying I'm going to do bad things. I'm just like, I'm a villain, and I can like hang out and like, I don't know, I can hang out in Hawaii for like the rest of my life and not do bad things, but I still have cool superpowers.
All right.
Next,
be stuck in a room full of spiders or a room full of snakes?
Dude, God, this is a terrible question.
I couldn't do either one, really. I mean, if I had to choose, I would lose it.
I mean, it depends on the kind of spiders and the kind of snakes. Right?
Let's say neither one are poisonous.
Okay.
Neither one are poisonous.
So we're talking about a bunch of like boa constrictors and...
I would have to go with snakes because I can't do spiders, dude.
Well, either daddy long legs or something. I have no problem with that.
Full of them, though?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to go with snakes. And like
as long as they're not...
Maybe they're gummy worms. I'd eat them.
Maybe if it's not a venomous snake, I think I could... I mean, but there's a lot of snakes that are not venomous that'll jack you up. So like, it has to be a specific kind of snake for me. I guess I'm going to go with spiders.
Okay, I can't do spiders. I can't do snakes either, but I'd rather do...
That question is really...
It's loaded.
It's not a great question. I have a problem with the author on that one.
Have to always enter rooms by announcing your name, or always do a cartwheel every time you exit. I'm Matt. I'm like, whoa, chill. That would be awesome in sales, though. It's like that parrot guy.
Yeah, I did. I know.
Hello, I'm Matt.
I think I'd announce myself every time I came into a room. I think I'd do that.
I don't know if I could do a cartwheel. Is that like a flip?
That's because I can't even do a cartwheel. Like, that's why when you said it, I was like, I can't do that.
I don't know if I could do a cartwheel.
Well, I mean,
I would announce myself anyway because I'm pretty loud. So, might as well.
Yeah, he's like,
Greg has arrived.
Yes. We can find something.
This is a good one for Matt. Would you rather have the ability to fly, but be afraid of heights? Oh, God. Or be invisible, but always accidentally making noise? So, like, you have gas, and you're like, what was that?
I would say...
Or you have to announce yourself when you're invisible. Matt!
I know, right?
Matt! It'd be the combination. It'd be like, whoa.
I'm going to go with the invisible, but always making noise.
I'm going to go with the flying. I've always wanted to fly.
I know, but
what if you're terrified? You're actually afraid of heights.
I'm actually afraid of heights. So I'm not doing it.
I think invisible's a tad bit creepy.
Well, it's...
Flying's creepy, too, in real life.
It's how you use your superpower. Okay? That's what it's all about.
All right, so
you ready to have one? Yeah.
Are you ready to answer some questions from our loyal viewers / listeners /
Let's go with the first one. I'll let you take...
Yvonne.
Yeah, you get the first one.
S. Oh, my good Lord.
Mr. Cena.
Mr. Cena. I just discovered you today on YouTube, and I think the content is fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne. Question. When bidding, do you have to provide equipment to clean, or will they mainly offer it? What about cleaning products? Do you put the cost in that price too? Thank you.
So I'm surprised at how often this question
I was
up.
too, especially like some of our consulting clients.
So when you're bidding commercial cleaning, you're going to provide as part of the service most of the time, unless it's like a medical facility of some sort.
And they make you use
specific types of disinfectants and cleaners. You're going to provide both the equipment and the chemical. And yes, you're going to build that into your total monthly price. And, if you can negotiate those things out, then that's great. But equipment, you really want to maintain that yourself.
Chemical, I think, is the same thing. If you have a chemical works.
Yeah.
And I was dealing with this week with another one of our people is, that's with cleaning products, you want to know that that's something that you can depend on no matter what. If they're giving you something you know nothing about, you're trying to clean with it, you're not getting the results that you want, you're wasting time. Because really, the majority of our cost going out is labor. It's not cleaning products.
No.
So
everything we use, chemical, equipment, tools, all of those things should be for efficiency's sake. And that's really what we should be doing is how do we become as efficient as possible. And so if you have to use their equipment, here's what I know, and I don't know about you, Yvonne, but a lot of folks who ask these questions are asking because they spent most of their time in homes.
Yeah, cleaning houses.
And so you go to someone's house and they provide the chemical and the equipment. And even with my own housekeeper at the house, that she'll use our stuff. And I mean, we're in the business, so
These are the same stuff we use.
So my wife always makes fun of me because I go get stuff and I'm like, no, we got to get her a new tool for this because she's not doing this part of the job well. And so I go buy her something new and then the work improves. And she's like, oh, well, I'm like, because the equipment matters. Chemical matters. And if they're using crappy stuff that you buy at the store.
Expect to have crappy results.
So you really want to control this. And yes, you need to build it into your price. Next question. At Christ4140 asks, can you discuss appropriate ways to address inappropriate behaviors from clients? And I'm going to finish this up. If clients intentionally leave a mess, for example, or or test cleaners, or have inappropriate remarks to your employees, in the past I've seen customers leave soiled hygiene products on the floor or cover counters with dirty dishes to prove a point. What recourse and boundaries can be set in place to protect the company and employees against adverse behaviors? Thank you. Well,
I think it starts with what relationship do you have with this customer that they would leave this mess. And then let's say I wrap my head around like the question, right? And let's say I have a property manager, I've got 30 buildings, and this is one building of their 30 that's doing this.
Yep.
First step is go talk to the property manager lightly, politely, and say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. What do you think we should do?
Yeah.
Let them answer. But if it's like this is your customer, something's going on.
Well, and here's another thing I would say, too, is that, I mean, first, healthy confrontation is good. And, so if this is happening, you have to take a stand for yourself, your company, and your employees. And so if someone is doing this, then the way I would approach it is to go to the client and say, let me show you the pictures. Let me show you what's happening. This is what we've done. If this is, is this something that you can help us address? And if they're like, no, this is just the way it's going to be, not a problem. It's taking us an extra, 2 hours a night to deal with this.
We're going to have to bill you for it.
So here's what the additional bill will be. And then I would guess, that will take care of itself. I mean, they're going to address it with their client or with their employees. They're going to deal with it. And if not, you're getting paid. And now they know that there's a standard now that every time that something like this happens, that you're going to come in, you're going to confront them, you're going to talk to them about it, and you're going to provide them with another proposal. So the only way
the other side of this story though is inappropriate remarks to your employees.
Yes, that can't be.
That's where things get like, okay, you have to prove that if, let's say, somebody comes in and they have an inappropriate, maybe it's a sexual remark, whatever it might be, or just derogatory comment towards your employee, you as a business owner have to see that through.
Yeah. So you have to address it
because that's your problem now. So you're going to have to address that, of course.
Yeah.
And I would just talk to your HR professional about what you need to do to handle that problem.
And most, I know in California that harassment crosses over.
It does.
So if an employee of a client is harassing one of your employees, that employee at that building can be held just as responsible if it was one of the employees, one of their coworkers.
Yeah.
So these are things that you're gonna you really need to educate yourself on those things, on how you're gonna deal with it. But like for me, I get hot when stuff like that happens. Like when I feel like somebody's being taken advantage of or they're being treated poorly because they're the janitors. I just see red and I attack. I'm doing it in a nice way. But I'm just like, hey, this is not going to be tolerated. This is what your options are. You either change the behavior of your employee or your staff, or you're going to have to pay this much. Yeah. And if they're like, well, we don't want to pay that, then deal with it. Then take care of it. Last question. At Rochelle, Arizona, Pickering, 4332. And I can't believe that somebody already had Rochelle, Arizona, Pickering. Then they had to put the 4332 there. But anyway.
Who was 4331?
I don't know. 4331, 4332.
Answer up, 4331.
Yeah, let's go for it. What if your client wants to bypass your service agreement? I'm sure it happens in janitorial services at complexes, but I'm new, so. Okay. No. The answer is absolutely not. There is no bypassing service agreements. And I don't need to talk anymore about that.
No.
If they won't sign a service agreement, then
they're not a customer.
Then they're not a customer. All right. So I guarantee you there are going to be some folks who are going to be like, well, you didn't answer all my questions. I mean, look, to be a salesperson and be be an effective salesperson in any industry, but, in this industry in particular, since
any service industry,
you really have to put in the work. Like, you have to know, you have to have a process. And you have to practice that process. You have to have good questions and a hell of a lot less information about your company.
Yeah.
You need to have it in here.
But you don't have to give it.
But you don't need to give it. And you only give it when you know that there's going to be an outcome. That's that's really the bottom line. But great topic. A lot to unpack. And I look forward to hearing from any of our listeners and our watchers here on other more specific questions they might have about this. Hopefully it's going to start some good conversations.
I think it will.
So we want to thank everybody for watching or listening to this episode of the OctoClean Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment with the topics that you want to have us discuss next time. And if you are listening, don't forget to rate and review this podcast. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you guys.
See you later. Thank you.